8. Brant. This isn't what I had in mind when you said you'd get me into this party, I said under my breath. Shh, replied Mike. I shook my head as I stood there listening to the maître d'hôtel give us directions of the proper way to pass around drinks and food. Circulate. Always circulate, he said with a thick French accent that almost too French. This guy French? Then I'm a goldfish. I muttered it. I said shh. The maître d'hôtel gave us a stern look. Something wrong, Monsieur Michael? No, sir, replied Mike, taking a sharp inhale of breath. I snorted at that. You have your instructions. Now, Ali, said maître d'hôtel with a clap of his hands. We were hustled over the staging area as I picked up a tray and said, I thought we were going to the party, not working at the party. Mike rolled his eyes at me. I said I'd get you in, and you're going in. Stop being such a drip. I could have said something then about how Mike was such of a drip. He was smoking wet. But I replied instead I just took the tray with the little cheese pops on it. Besides, I knew for a fact if I took one with the champagne flutes, that would all be on the floor before I made it out to the guests. We left the small kitchen and entered the gridding party room, complete with a dance floor and band playing. It looked like a swell party. It would have been fun to be the guest, not the darn waiter. I turned to find Mike to chew him out some more, but he already vanished into the crowd. Circulate, Monsieur Morris. Maître d'hôtel drew a circle with his finger as he hissed instruction in my ear with a swimming off to kiss some partygoers on each cheek. Quite a talent, really, to be all in that one motion. Needed a good nation for that. I picked up a cheese puff and popped it into my mouth. I decided to make the best of it, so I circulated. And honestly, it turned out it was, in fact, a pretty excellent excuse to wander through the crowd looking for William Chambers. I never tell Mike that. Oh, coffee cheese. A tall man with a very red cheeks suddenly bent his head into my lane of vision to examine each little puff. Yeah, I said as I watched him breathe on everything. I made a small note in my mental notebook never to eat anything that's been circulated ever again. He eventually picked up a little puff right in the middle of everything, his hand grazing the couple as he went in for a kill. Then he was off. I was still watching his long limbs retreat into the crowd, and the other hand merged from beside me. Intensely, I said, Don't! Then quickly turned to apologize for the outburst. I'm very sorry. It's just that... I stopped. I was staring at the fired William Chambers. There he was, right there in front of me. I quickly changed my tone from apologetic to separational. Is there one thing I knew about people is that they love to think they were in on the secret. I lowered my voice, which automatically made him move in closer to hear me. There was a fellow just now. Touched almost all of them. I wouldn't recommend eating one. William looked at me, confused, but didn't say much of anything. Just sort of nodded. He seemed strangely out of sorts. Maybe he was just drunk, but it was different. It spooked me a little. I wrote a note in my brain about it. I need to, at some point, transpose everything inside my head onto the real piece of paper. Needed to remind myself to do that. I watched as William turned to look somewhere else. His mind seemed heavily occupied, but I really wanted to knock off its door to see if I was allowed in. Are you William Chambers? I asked. Might as well just go for it, I thought. That was when the world went black. I knew immediately what was going on, though I seemed to be one of the only ones. I guess these rich folk weren't as used to blackouts as I was. It's why my uncle always said, go on about the good old days when you didn't have to rely on electricity and such. Candles, boy oh boy, did he love candles. Folks were getting nervous and said they could tell people were moving about, trying to do something useful. Try not to panic. I knew that if the lights didn't turn on soon, things would get a lot more manic, likely even more dangerous. A large group of drunk ravers trapped into the basement club. In the dark, just as I thought, I found myself on the floor. Someone had crashed into me hard. I'm so sorry. Are you alright? I didn't know who was talking to me, but I felt a hand on my shoulder and I was helped up. We need to get to the fuse box, the voice said. I can fix it if I get to the fuse box. I agreed, I replied. It's in the kitchen. I saw it. Come with me. Follow my voice. My body remembered the way back, called out my new friend to follow. I didn't know if he had been able to the dark. We made it inside the kitchen. The gas was still working, so the burners of the stove was still on. It was a small moment of light, but it seems like the sun paired with the pitch black in the old room. I turned to my friend, and that's when I realized it was William. I stared at him as he darted past, looking for the fuse box. This kid was going to save the day. I watched him from the distance, shadow now, barely an outline, moving about, trying to find a replacement for the fuse, I guess. He seemed to know what he was doing, and sure enough, suddenly the lights were back on, just like that. New tactic, not conventional. Time for familiarity. That might work. Does a rich kid like you know about fixing things? I asked, approaching him. William closed the door containing the fuses, playing with the spent one in his hand. Have we met before? He asked, looking confused and a little suspicious of me. I smiled and stuck in my head to shake. Brant Morris, you're William Chambers. I was at a horse diving event this morning. William looked at my hand for a moment and then smiled. He took it. It's Bill. Nice to meet you, Brant. I like the fixing thing. What can I say? Didn't know things needed to fix in your neck of the woods. I said, leaning against the countertop that were flooding into the kitchen now. Mientras Rob was already barking orders, but I was determined to have this conversation with William, or rather, Bill. Things were always needs fixing. He said it sounded deep the way he said it. Meaningfully. Maybe it was. Or maybe it's just his way. Everything about him seemed confident. This was a man who knew he was meant to pick up space in the world. Maybe he just meant the objects break, and you need to fix them. Right this way, monsieur. I finally turned toward the chaos and mientras Rob. There came right to us with a man in coveralls behind as he approached. I saw a snitch-on name tag that had Scott writing on it, and underneath the word gent spelled out in all capital letters. It was just a fuse, said Bill, as Scott the gentleman passed him, not even giving him a second glance. Nothing, just about the system, replied Scott gruffly, opening the metal door, locking inside the small closet-like space. Bill went over to join him. Well, I almost have to reattach a loose wire here, he said and pointed. You! Get back to work! Mientras Rob grabbed me by the shoulder and whipped around fast at that. The better remove that hand there before I could snap my cap. Mientras Rob backed away slowly, shooting daggers at me. It wasn't like I was planning on this work arrangement to be any kind of the long-term deal. I was okay with his anger. I had more important things to do, like get the story. I turned back in time to see Bill and Scott shaking hands. Not a bad job, kid, said Scott. You ever need a gig? Let me know. Thank you, sir, replied Bill. I couldn't help but laugh. Both of them looked at me confused. Oh, come on, like this rich kid needs a dig, I said. Scott looked at Bill, then back at me. Then he shook his head and picked up his tools and was on his way toward gent on the back of his coveralls, disappearing behind hooks and waders. I looked at Bill and he was staring at me, kind of funny. Shoot, I miscalculated. I thought maybe he was the kind of guy who was tired of yes men, who appreciated someone being a down-to-earth son of a gun with him. But of course, now that I thought about it, how many rich folk actually appreciated that? Especially from a complete stranger. Hey, I said, making to apologize. Look, you want to grab a drink? Asked Bill, interrupting. Or maybe I was right on the money. Right on the big stinking sack of money.